Bergstrom. I'll be covering part 3, which is the industry assessment. The first thing we'll go over is the industry growth rate, which based off of our research, we found that the average annual growth rate for residential real estate is 5.6%, and that has been from 2013 to 2018. We also found that the total revenue in residential real estate so far this year is $155 billion. Next, I'll cover the competitive forces, which is based off of our map here on the slide. We found that the firms that are in the best positions were RE/MAX and Century 21. Then the firms that were in the worst positions were Coldwell Banker and Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. That's just because they're smaller size compared to those larger firms like RE/MAX and Century 21. Then we found that the closest competitors to our firm, which is RE/MAX, were Keller Williams and Century 21. That's because they're close proximity in size and market coverage and value. Next, I'll be covering some of the key impacts that the industry developments have on the industry. We'll be focusing on the political and economic trends. One of the key points for political trends is the funding for low-income housing. This can have a positive and negative effect on the industry. First, the positive effect would be updates to the community would provide an increase in property value, whereas if there are homes in less affluent communities, that can flatline the property value of the houses in those communities. The next topic is the current laws, taxes, and inflation rates. These directly impact the prices of homes, so that can be a big impact in residential real estate. The next key topics that we'll talk about are the trends in the economy. So these include changes in consumer income, availability of supplies, property taxes, and the economy and success of residential real estate are directly correlated. Now we'll be going over a little analysis of the 5 forces for residential real estate. We found that the strongest force was the intensity of rivalry. That is because there is such high competition within the industry among those large firms. There's those large firms that we mentioned previously, such as RE/MAX, Century 21, and Keller Williams. Those are present throughout the nation and have a big impact, that is due to each firm being able to, there's not really much change that they can provide in their services, so that increases the competition in the industry. We found that the weakest force was the threat of new entrants, and that's because with the presence of those large firms, it is harder for new firms to come in and end up being successful. And then we found that the greatest effect on the industry attractiveness would be the intensity of the rivalry, and that's because that competition would make it so much harder to come in and be successful as a new firm.